Well, hello there everyone. Welcome to the Wayback Tech, and in this video I'm going to try to get Windows 98 running on a Core 2 Duo. The whole idea behind this project is to take modern junk, which this is a little older than modern by quite a bit, but the goal of this project is to use modern junk and do something useful with it, something vintage. Throw Windows 98 on it. See how it runs, right? So in my mind, vintage would be, modern vintage junk would be like a second gen, third gen, i3, i5. I don't think you want to waste an i7 for this. Something like an Acer, a Dell, a Lenovo that's just been thrown away, almost thrown away. You know, it got sitting around. Maybe businesses have piles of them because they've upgraded the computers 2 or 3 times since then. Usually stuff you can just find pretty easily. So the idea is take that. Could we throw Windows 98 on it? Maybe throw a 98 compatible video card at it and a sound card. See what happens. Well, I haven't got quite that far yet. So in this episode, which is episode 1, I'm going to be starting off the project with a tried and true Core 2 Duo. And this is the G41 chipset. It is an E7500. We got the PS2s on the back, and we've got a COM port header here and an LPT header down here. So if we wanted to, we could have cables plugging into those. This is a DDR3 variant just for added fun. IDE and SATA stuff down in here. So this is also got a broken cooler lug there, by the way. This is the platform to start this project off because everyone says PCI-E does not work with Windows 98. Now, for the sound is a cmedia PCI-E card. Now this has DOS drivers and Windows 98 all the way up to Windows 10. So this covers the whole spectrum of garbage, Microsoft garbage. This is obviously not the PCI version that Phil had in his video a while back. This is just for added fun because we got the PCI slots are just a little bit more on the rare side nowadays. Start getting past 2nd, 3rd, 4th gen stuff, and these start disappearing pretty quickly. So if we can make that work on the PCIe slot, then we might have something there. Now, for my ways that I do things in my thing here, my computer room here, I have a server. And on my server, it's a Linux server, and I can access all the old machines with that Linux server to get to my shared files. So I need an Ethernet card for that. The gigabit Ethernet driver on there, or chip, is not going to have drivers for it. So going to have to use up one of those PCI slots. Good tried and true 3-COM. Windows 98 has drivers built into this, so this runs out of the box. And to top off this fun little experiment is a GT 6600, or 6600 GT if you prefer. The proper way to say it. NVIDIA. Nice copper, kind of an orb cooler. Nice vintage stuff. This came out of a Pentium 4 I have laying around at work. So, this is the fun stuff that we're going to be putting all together and finding out, will Windows 98 even boot? So, let's get started. So here we are with the system on the quote workbench here, and it's a box, if you can believe that. So this is the way it was configured so far. Getting it to this point wasn't a big deal. Of course, it goes to the BIOS very easily, but getting into booting into Windows 98, I mean, was not something that just happened right away. There was some issues with the SATA and compatibility and things like that. But we got past that, had to disable the 32-bit mode drivers, things like that. This is with the 6600 that I've captured this section right here. I did actually start this project with a 6200 PCI card. I kept having issues with that. That's when I was running the system with a USB enabled. I didn't get any capture of that because I couldn't see. I don't remember now what the issue was, but something. I couldn't get the resolution to set, I think is what it was. So then I tried a 5500 and that kind of worked, but it also had bad capacitor, so it was crash happy. So I don't know if it was because of the PCI slot implementation, which I think is kind of weird on this system, or if it's because of other things. But that card, the bad caps, that card came out, and then the GT6600 went in. So that's what we're running right now. As the initial run, this doesn't have the sound installed or anything like that right now. So that's not a bad thing. And we're running about 200 to 300 frames per second here. It's not bad. So far we're doing pretty good. But it will give us a surprise in a minute here. And we love surprises. So, that's, we almost got the 500 there. Not quite. It's a pretty good card. It works, kind of, ish. The ish is going to be coming up here very soon. For this build quite regularly. So one of the things I did was to go ahead and try to install things. And as you can see here, the device manager is basically clean of everything except the stuff that, of course, has yellow marks in it. But that's actually kind of normal for Windows 98 in general, even on older systems when you don't have the drivers. It's just running on standard. So at this point, this was like the third attempt to try to make this work. So here comes out the unofficial Windows 98 Service Pack 3 patch. And I wasn't sure if updates were going to solve this issue or not, but it was worth a try. So here's the funness that comes with this pack. There's all kinds of choices here to choose from. I just chose the updates. And I think there's one other one I checked. There's that plug and play. That might have been the one, too, I checked. I don't remember. We'll find out here together, because this has been like a week ago since I recorded this. So, yeah, I should have been taking notes, I suppose. Yeah, there's the updates, the main updates. I think I went back after this and did the plug and play. Or maybe not. Yeah. So, this is one of these things that I was scratching my head because no matter what I did, it kept crashing. And this is a benchmark that just runs. The biggest problem with the system at this point was that it seemed like it would work, and as you see, it would just crash. And it's almost like it was having a memory corruption of some kind in the background. So I had ended up going through and trying different chipset drivers for the ID controller. I also later on was trying to figure out why I couldn't get the ID CD-ROM to work. And I ended up having to basically, I was able to use a SATA drive, which is what I'm using on this here at the moment. But I had to take it out of enhanced mode and put it into full compatibility, which then made things weird because it disables half of the SATA ports, and of course the ones that I kept plugging the drive into were the ones that were disabled, and I couldn't figure out why until I realized that the motherboard, they decided instead of having 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 next to each other, it was going to be 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. So I kept plugging into the wrong ports. After I figured that out, I was able to get the CD-ROM working. So here we go. We're going to give another test here to 3D Mark 01. I didn't use any other of the 3D marks because the point of this is to have a Windows 98 experience. You could throw a Windows 2000 on this probably and it'll work just fine. So that's the idea here. So here we go with another run, and we're going to find out whether or not it's going to work or not. You can see we're still doing about the same number of frames per second here. 200 to 300 range. It's not too shabby. And so we're back to that point where it crashed last time. So at this point we can actually see whether or not upgrading it to Service Pack 3 fixed anything. I think at this time I was running the PCI-E card. In fact, I'm pretty sure of it. And so I don't remember now because I have the 5500 that was also having problems with PCI card, and that's when I decided to go ahead and put the PCI-E card in. And I did have to force install the drivers. It wouldn't find it automatically. So this is actually running on the PCI-E card, but I had started this whole setup with the 6200 PCI card just to try to eliminate the variables as much as possible. And I'm not sure if this motherboard is running some kind of weird emulation of the PCI, because it doesn't, I don't know, it might have been a video card, but it just was like the Ethernet card worked perfectly fine, but the video card I just kept having weird issues with. Artifacts, just randomness. But as you can see, we've gone past that point. So yes, installing the unofficial Service Pack 3 with all those updates does fix the PCI-E problem, at least as far as the videos card is concerned. Now, at this point, I hadn't tried the sound card yet. That's going to come later. I'm just trying to take this one step at a time because this was like several days, well, a couple days, I think, just to even get it to this point of working. So that's not fun at all. This was not a terribly fun project by any stretch of the imagination, but at least it's kind of working at this point. And we're nearing the end here of the benchmark. So we'll at least be able to get a score at this point and see how the system is performing. And, you know, I expected more out of it, but again, I'm running this at 1600 megahertz, underclocking the processor significantly, so that's probably why. But, yeah, so we got 19358. Not too bad for our first run. A little behind the scenes look here of my early testing of the capture stuff. Quite fun. So now I'm going through and installing the cmedia drivers, and something weird happened here. The background color suddenly changed. It was really strange. This is the example of the weird problems I kept having with this thing. Just random things would happen. I didn't even change the background to this yet, and all of a sudden, it just went blue. Also, I had to run the DOS CD-ROM driver to get that to work because, yeah, that stuff in the Windows controller stuff had to disable the 32-bit protected mode driver for this to boot up. So that's a thing to remember, is you've got to disable that right there. But it's weird. This is one of another examples of something just weird, just suddenly happens. The background changed to dark blue. I'd never even changed it to that. But here we are installing the audio driver off the A drive. decided it was going to do the A drive instead of D. I had to go back in later and actually force that to be D. But it's very nice, simple driver package here, nothing too crazy to have to deal with. And it installs really fast. So I'm glad these exist. Because, you know, some of us like to do weird things. And this is probably the weirdest of all. DOS Windows 98 gaming on a PCI Express sound card. So that's, yeah, quite fun. So it's at this point that I'm going through and testing whether or not the sound actually works. And I figured I'd just use the built-in WAV files and MIDI files in Windows to test it with. You know, I'm running like a thing of where keep it simple, stupid. You know, let's not try that Winamp stuff yet. You know, that we'll wait to that. And as it found out, the WAV wasn't working at this point. Install the drivers, and I have no audio. Cute. Another one of those weird things. But the MIDI was working. Well, that is until I plugged it up to the right port on the sound card. You can hear the MIDI's playing. It's not too bad either. And the mixer works, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad, I suppose. And I tried a couple other ones here just to see what the sounds are like. So since the audio isn't working, MIDI is, but not the WAV side, guess what I get to do? I get to figure out why. And of course, this ends up going to take me back to the CD to install a different driver. Because guess what? The one that popped up was not the right one, apparently. So here we are back on the CD, and I'm looking for something that resembles something that might be something to install. And of course I see the DOS apps folder, which I'll install later on, which didn't actually help me at all. But here's another one of these things. I'm like, maybe this one's going to work. And eventually it did. So now, of course, it's time to try Descent, because Descent works on anything, right? And we detected the sound card, and of course it crashed instantly on a test. Isn't that just lovely? Yeah. Yet another one of these weird things just would work. And I kept trying to figure out why, and sometimes it would freeze up the game in this window, and that's kind of why I like running it in the... We used to call this DOS box back in the day, guys. DOS box ripped the name off. It was a term back then, and they took the term and made it a trademark or whatever they did. Anyway, the command window, the DOS window, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's nice to have problems here because then you can just X out of it instead of having to reboot the computer. And of course, at this point, I'm trying to change, you know, figure out what I'm missing here, something like that. Yeah. Lots of fun. So after installing the drivers, you can hear that, guess what? It's working now. But we had to install the correct drivers again because the second one didn't have the legacy audio. This one does, and look at that. Legacy PCI audio. Wow, what a wonderful thing to have installed with your sound card. Woohoo, look at that. We've got the MP401 coming online here. We've got all kinds of good stuff going on. This is one of these things that I don't know. And look, watch. Look at that. It just changed the color of the background. I don't know why. And that stopped doing that after a while too. Couldn't tell you why. Couldn't tell you what made it start or what made it stop in the end. But whatever it was, and now we're detecting as a roll-in, weirdly enough, and we still don't have sound. But we do on the MIDI. Obviously wasn't capturing this at loud enough volume, but you can kind of hear it, I hope. Yeah, I don't know. This was really strange. So I thought it'd be cute that maybe, you know, actually set it up for Sound Blaster, and it just froze up. I had to close it. So what is going on? Because those are the settings that the legacy audio shows here. And you're going to see here in a second, you know, we got the resources. That's correct, and that works. We go in here to the legacy, and we have everything here except IRQ. Where's our IRQ setting? Oh, well, it's under here. Oh crap. I can change that, can't I? I bet you we got an IRQ conflict going on. Yeah, it wasn't that easy. Wasn't that easy. As you'll see why in just a minute. Because this is just fun times and good times and great oldies. And that's it. No reboot. Windows protection error. You must reboot your computer. Yeah. Now, it was at this point that I was about to take a hammer to this thing. Okay. Well, maybe after 30 more tries of this. Yeah. So what kept happening is that Windows protection error would not let me change it to IRQ anything. So I had gone into the BIOS, disabled LPT, COM to free up IRQs because I still think it's an IRQ conflict. Could be a DMA issue too, but I think it's an IRQ conflict. I tried, well, it puts the card on IRQ 5 for the PCI-E side of the card, which I would think would work. I don't know. I pulled the card out to verify that, and IRQ 5 went away. So I tried plug and play BIOS, yes or no. I tried all the CPU off and on things. I tried, like I said, disabling stuff that I could. It's very limited BIOS. Plug and play aware BIOS, yes or no. That's it. There's no assign IRQs to PCI slots. There's none of that in this BIOS. Too basic, I guess, of a motherboard for the era. So I had even tried to install the DOS driver. And the funny thing is that the PCI-odd exe file, which is the file that loads to configure the sound card, this little happy guy right here kept saying IRQ-A. Okay. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I can force it in the driver. No, it doesn't have a /A number A thing to force it into A5 or A7. It just A. So that was also not working. So I don't know what's up with that. This is what I start thinking about. Is PCI? Is it some kind of emulation going on at this point in these motherboards? This is a very end of its generation era for the Core 2 motherboards, a G41. You got the P45, so that's the same family, if you will. So I don't know. We're getting crazy. I tried it. So I gave up on it until I went to version 2. And you'll see that a little bit later. But, yeah. This one kind of kicked my butt. Yeah. So, I said goodbye to it. And just decided to play a little Quake 3. Yeah, 469 frames per second. I'm not sure if that's enough for people nowadays. It's not the 7 or 800 that these 5900s are with their fake ROPs and fake frames and fake availability and fake MSRPs can do. But 470 is quite a bit for me. So it's at this point that I had done some Quake 3 gaming, and that's what you saw the other day uploaded off this system. And I said, yeah, this is a mystery system. I think a little newer than Pentium 4. And this is an issue I keep having with my capture card out of range. You know, I don't know. I'm going to just kind of bump this up a little bit here. Bump through that. Yeah. So I got tired of the descent not working in the DOS thingies, so I just decided to dig out my D1X patch. That, you know, nobody talks about D1X, and yeah, it just locked up here again. So I'm gonna jump past that, and yeah, there's my D1X. So just copy and paste these into the descent game folder, and then we have lots of delicious Windows 3D performance enhancement stuff going on. And there's my AverMedia capture card not wanting to auto-adjust, so I have to do this fun stuff manually. Yeah, just one more thing to have to deal with. Yeah, so now that I got that figured out, yeah, here we go. And D1X, beautiful, delicious, enhanced version with networking TCP/IP things. This is a version of Descent that was kind of, well, they took Descent 2's engine and kind of made it work with Descent 1. And yeah, nice, runs under Windows. Doesn't have that 500,000 frame a second jump that DOS does on this game under Windows, the DOS version. So yeah. And guess what? It fixes our sound magically. It's funny how that happens, you know. Just get away from DOS entirely, and then everything works. So you can see we're running at it's a fixed. It says 80, but it's really 76. So it's a fixed 76 frames per second in the game. That's how it runs, nice and smooth. This is a comment I'll make later on in the video because I recorded the next segment before this, but. What I noticed here is that playing this, this is with the 6600 GT again. It says 76 frames, but it just doesn't feel it. And I can tell in the capture, now that I'm watching this, it kind of has a little bit of a stutter to it. And when I get to the version 2 of this system, you'll see, I'll make a comment about that, but as I'm watching this playback, it's yeah, I can see it in the capture. It could be because it's running over the 60 hertz capture rate limit of this card. This is 640 by 480, although this game will do 1024 768. The downside to D1X, I like to have the cockpit. That's just me. A lot of people don't. I think this just turns into a first-person shooter. It kind of gives you more visibility, but then it just, again, it doesn't feel like I'm flying in space over the spaceship. If I don't have the cockpit, that's just my personal preference of how I like to play the game. But I digress. Yeah, it's Descent at higher resolutions is just such a nice thing to see. And this is where you start wanting to have a more powerful system, because you start getting into, in this case, this is actually rendering, I don't know if it's direct draw, direct 3D. I don't know. It's probably direct draw would be my guess. But anyway, when you're trying to do direct to direct, you know, software to DOS without drivers, that whole thing, it just takes a lot of power to do the higher resolutions software mode. It takes a lot of CPU power. So if you want to do DOS software mode in high resolution, if it can do that, the game, you definitely want a lot of CPU power behind it. So far, seems like DOS hits a wall. I've done that test years ago with a Celeron, and it just never seems to go past a certain point. I've actually heard since then some people comment that it can actually be the game engine itself that's just not capable of rendering any faster than whatever the limit is. I don't know. I think it goes both ways. It depends on the engine, depends on the game. You know, as you can see here, we're doing pretty good, and we haven't crashed. What? We played almost an entire level here. The other thing I want you to notice is this is the cmedia card. The sound is working perfectly fine. This is another point of issue that I had with version 2. Because in theory, version 2, the sound card should have been more compatible with 98 than this. Which again leads me to wonder if there's not some kind of not quite kosher PCI implementation of the PCI slots at this point in time. That we're starting to drift away from standards, and it's just kind of a, as long as it works good enough, that's all we care about, kind of a thing here. But I don't have the audio turned up. Sorry, I'm sorry, and I can't artificially bump it up. I'm already at max on the capture audio here for the media source. But it sounds pretty good. It's not quite a Roland MP32 probably, but yeah. So decided to go ahead and try Unreal Tournament. Unreal Tournament's another game that just always works. I've never had this game not work, except on this system, if you can believe it or not. Yeah. Installed fine, and I always install the 436 patch. I don't like that whole, needing the CD thing. So, and it's running fine right here. Look how nice that looks right here in the menu. Not thinking anything about anything. I always just jump to the menu, change the settings to the way I like them, because it's never that way out of the box, sadly. Keyboard controls, the resolution, things like that. Just, simple things. And you can see we're doing good here. Nothing unusual happens. And this is actually the longest it's ran in the menu since this point out. I must be honest. As you'll see a little bit later on. But let's just pan that forward here. I'm going to start trying to game here. And the thing that was weird is that I had no keyboard control. And then look what happens. Bingo, bango, bongos, like that. We crash back to the desktop. And we try it again here, because that had to have just been a fluke, right? I mean, come on, this game runs on anything. I've never had this game not run on a system. That had to have just been a fluke. Come on. This is another thing that, without having the drivers, there is kind of this little, delay in hard drive loading. And no, an SSD is not going to solve that problem. Okay, that's not the problem. It's not the drive. It's perfectly fine. It feels like a 98 machine from back in the day as far as that goes. And of course, I upped the brightness because it looked really dark on my monitor. So, yeah. I'm going to try it again. That just had to be a fluke. And again, the keyboard's not working. And I didn't understand why. And then, so I'm going back to, I'm like, well, I must have the keyboard controls wrong or something. Yeah. Again, this is the longest this has stayed in the menu since this point. It's usually crashed back to the desktop by now, just like it did. Yeah, it's weird. After this first time, this game always crashes. You can't even get out of the menu, and it just does this. Quake runs perfectly fine. D1X runs perfectly fine. Unreal Tournament, not so much. Not so much, sadly. This time we actually got a real crash message. So let's try Half-Life. I mean, that, you know, that just seems logical, right? Yeah. Yep, we heard the sound. Yep. I didn't when I was recording this because I didn't have speakers plugged in at the time, but I assumed it did. So.
Is 8:47 a.m.
And what do you know? It's
Current
working.
topside temperature is 93 degrees. With an estimated
I was having issues though with this game.
105.
I can't tell if this is the 3D or not. Yeah, I was having issues because the resolution, it was like I kept telling it to go to 3D mode and it was clearly not in 1024-768, and I was like, it didn't seem like it was actually changing it, and then it just said default driver, and I'm like, shouldn't that say NVIDIA, or I don't know. I honestly haven't used this game for 20 years, give or take, maybe longer, so yeah, it's a mess. And but I was trying to get in and out. This time I actually changed the background to blue because I like that. But at some point I did finally get it to stay in 1024-768. I didn't know until the capture was like, we're not happy. I'm like, what, really? That's how I could tell it wasn't going in a 1024, because I have to change the AverMedia capture settings in OBS from 640 to 1024. That's what I'm having to do manually when I'm switching resolutions here. So another fun thing to have to do while recording things, but you know, I digress. So it
Good
works.
morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is
So I'm going in here to the registry because I'm trying to force it. Because someone said I had looked this problem up. And of course, it's funny how when you have a problem with something, you Google it, you'll find 15 other people did too. They said to delete an entry in the registry, and that resets everything, which then, of course, reset all the settings that I had just done there. So then I had to go back and do it. And at some point after that is when I was getting 1024-768. So the only downside to this game is I just don't like games that take you 10 minutes of all of this before you, and I actually skipped that for you too. I just want to get to gaming and killing. This does remind me of Doom 3, though, so I wonder if that's where they got the idea for Doom 3, because you kind of enter Doom 3 the same way on a tram. I think it's a tram, or I think so. And then you got to go inside, you talk to the guard, and you go inside, and you get scanned and all that stuff. It's very similar to this, so since this came out before Doom 3, I kind of think Doom, they kind of copied from this game, just a little bit. As long as it's 25% different, that's okay.
Or radiation checkup is grounds for immediate termination. You feel you have been exposed to radioactive or other hazardous materials in the course of your duties. Contact your radiation safety officer immediately.
I've been exposed. Let me just fast forward this. Yes, here we are. You know, we're doing our due diligence to, run past the guard because we don't want to wait for him to catch up to us. Come on, buddy. Let's get here. Come on. We ain't got all day. Come on. We got creatures to kill. Come on. I guess he must get paid the same. Come on, open the door, damn it. Open sesame, open sesame. I gotta pee, damn it. Open sesame, come on, there we go. There we go. Oh, dang it. No, I can't go any further. This is like that part in Doom 3 where you, please stand still. I gotta scan you for contamination. Don't move around. Yeah, to finally open the door.
Hey, Mr. Freeman. I had a bunch of messages for you, but we had a system crash about 20 minutes ago, and I'm still trying to find my files. Just one of those days, I guess. They were having some problems.
Case the Mondays.
Too.
Yep. So as you can see, and I'll tell you right now, Half-Life has never crashed once on this game. I am running it with the latest patches, but
the sample was just delivered to the test chamber.
as you can see, there's a lot of screen tearing again too, so I have no idea what frame rate this is running at. I wish Fraps ran on Windows 98, but it doesn't.
As I expected. Ah, it's good to see you.
Sorry, Mr. Freeman, I got explicit orders not to let you through without your hazard suit on.
Oh, hazard smazzer, shoot. Suit. I don't know what he was doing here. I had to stop and record this. It's like he's had some kind of seizure or something there. So here's all the settings that I'm running, and I'm turning VSync on here just to see if it takes away some of that screen tearing. You know, and other Windows 98 things where the thing on the taskbar just stays, you know. I gotta love that. So here we are back on the old bridge, and it's kind of still there. I don't know. This is what I was saying about, it'll tell me it's doing 400 frames per second, but it just doesn't feel like it. I don't know. Even with VSync on, it seemed like it helped, but I don't know. So it's at this point that things had arrived in the mail that I had ordered, which happened to be this little gem right here, the Quadro 3450, I think this is. Is it the 3450? We're going to say it is because I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, 3450. This is a equivalent to in between a 6800 GT and a 6800 Ultra. It's kind of right in between, which a lot of the Quadro video cards are. So again, PCI Express. This is version 2 of this crazy setup I got going here. And then we got the sound card. We're going with the tried and true Sound Blaster Live because this should work with Descent under DOS box, DOS window, command prompt window. Names, they're all the same. We'll find out that's not true either. Crazy times. See, I don't know if that... Okay. So this is with the Quadro and the Sound Blaster Live installed. So I'm just going to give it a run here again, so you can see. It looks like I need to center this. It's like a live stream, but it's not, right? Fun things, I'm just trying to see if I can actually put a video together using nothing but OBS and my capture stuff here, which is, you know, an experiment for me. So, yeah, you know. And with the Quadro here, I think it looks smoother to me. I think the output is smoother. It looks smoother. It doesn't look torn. It doesn't look like it's. I don't know. I don't know if that card's any good or not. See that, as I said before, that GT6600 is a card that I had to force install the drivers on, so it wouldn't detect it, which was weird. But I figured that was a Windows 98 thing until I put the Quadro in, and it just said, "Oh, you got a Quadro? Oh, cool. Installed, reboot. Here's all your colors and refresh and desktop and everything you want, all ready to go." Oh, well, cool. So, as you can see, we're doing about the same frame rate here. I captured 3D Mark a little bit longer in this run. I did skip through it again. I can hit the pause key, which is kind of cool. But yeah, the whole Matrix, Max Payne / Matrix scene here. I'll have to, admittedly, I've never played this game, so there's a lot of games to go back and play, guys, you know. Whoo-wee. Yeah. It's amazing how much the higher quality benchmark, higher detail's the word I was looking for. It's amazing how much that just kills the performance on this, no matter how much CPU power. Here's a nice flowy color looking benchmark thing here. This is the second pass. This is the nicer of the two. Again, we're not crashing. It looks, I watched this, it looks so much smoother than before. And the only thing I did was change the video card. So, and you can see we got actually a pretty decent improvement there as well. So I don't know if that's because of what I just said. It's actually more consistent frame rate, but that's 4,000-ish higher, 2 to 4 depending on which. Well, no, it's 19 something. I don't think it ever got to 21. But considering that we're not running a different clock speed, it's impressive. So we're going to give Unreal Tournament a try here again, because maybe it was just the sound card or the video card. You know, once I saw it running so much smoother, I thought, well, crap, you know. Maybe it was the sound card that Unreal Tournament well, not the sound card, the video card. Both, maybe. So we can give it another try here and see what happens.
In 2291, in an attempt to control violence among deep space miners, the New Earth government legalized no-holds-barred fighting.
So far, so good.
The Andrew Mining Corporation, working with the NEG, established a series of leagues and bloody public exhibitions.
And boom, crash. I'm gonna have to get an explosion thing right here. Same problem. So it wasn't the video card. It is the same driver. This is the, I don't remember the driver version, but it's the last one to support Windows 98, I believe. 8198, I believe. I actually have an 82 one somewhere, but you know, yeah, it was locked up good. Locked up tighter than a tick's rear end. So yeah, I'm going to give it the old power off and power back on here. Yeah, I set this motherboard up to power on after power failure, so I could just turn on and off with the power switch on the processor instead of, you know, dealing with all that hokey pokey mumbo jumbo. And, you know, here I'm just showing you the DOS screen. You know, I know there's a lot of the other crap going on there, but, you know, I kick it down to 640/480. This capture card does not like 320/240 at all. Will not work with that. I got to figure out a solution to that, but that's a future me problem to figure out. So here we are. You know, we're back to where we started. Unreal Tournament's just a no-show, so let's just play some Quake 3. I mean, yeah, why not? It works. And it sounds better with the live, I will say.
You have taken the lead. You are tied for the lead. You have taken the lead.
And if you did need any more proof, here's a Quadro FX symbol right there. And I started wondering, can SLI work under Windows 98? Just making sure that things are turned on properly. I was also finding an issue trying to get the screen to recognize the monitor to be recognized correctly for the refresh rate, because it kept wanting to find the AverMedia card instead of the VSonic monitor. But again, the sound is definitely better under the live. A lot fuller. Again, we're playing D1X. Nothing's changed, but it's fuller. And again, the motion is smoother. To me, I perceive it as much smoother watching this playback. Of course, we got to give Half-Life a try again. See what that's going to be like. Everything's working as it should be here in the graphics settings. So let's just go ahead and resume that game and see what happens here. Again, the sound is better for sure. And if you notice, there isn't quite as much tearing either. It's still a little bit. Could just be this game. Could be the capture card too. I'm not sure. But it just feels better. Again, the perception, it feels better. Not by a whole lot. I can see a little bit. Maybe. Maybe that's just specific.
Hey, Mr. Freeman, I had a bunch of messages for you, but we had a...
Yeah, I gotta get that old mouse configured there. It was not moving very fast. They always gotta make mice move at the creepy crawly speed by default. I hate that. I need it to go now. Oh, this is a Tweety Ball mouse, by the way. I'll show it to you at the end of the video.
Hello there.
Tweety Ball mouse.
Ah, hello, Gordon Freeman. It's good to see you. Hello. Freeman?
Sorry, Mr. Freeman, I got explicit orders not to let you through without your hazard suit on.
So guys, what does all of this mean? Basically, I'm kind of at the point to where I'm at an impasse with this particular project. It seems to work most of the time, and sometimes it doesn't. Depends on the game, and hardware not so much, at least in this configuration right here. It has a lot of potential possibly, but we're running a lot of unsupported things right now. PCI Express. The video card is supported. It's a Quadro right now. This is the final configuration with the Sound Blaster Live to try to get more. The sound card is more to try to isolate the issue with the Windows 98 DOS gaming no sound lockup freezing issue. This did not resolve that, unfortunately. The cmedia card, I think, works a little bit better, at least with Descent in the D1X patch. It did not have the sound issues that I was experiencing in long-term play of the game. Not something that was captured this time, but with this sound card, the audio, not the music, but the audio effects itself, the sound effects, the bing, bang, bung, pew, pew, pew sounds, right? Those would get corrupt and just kind of and then you'd hear the sound later, poo, poo, poo. It's really strange. I did not experience that with the cmedia card, but then again, it was also with the GT 6600 GT, same thing. So this is going to be an end to this configuration. Like I said, I reached an impasse. It's the whole point of this was to try to find modern junk, something in an i3 era level, I should say era, second gen, third gen, some kind of junk to be laying around in office or someone's basement, right? In the modern era of junk. I haven't reached that level yet. I do have a motherboard that I wanted to use for this project, but since this is giving me trouble, I'm not having a whole lot of hope that that's going to be any better. So this is really at the ragged edge as it is. The Quadro 68, well, it's a Quadro 3450. It's, like I've said, I'm sure, this is, basically a 6800 GT Ultra right in between there. It had no issues detecting it. The 6600 GT, I had to force install the driver, and this one I just auto found it, so that seems like a plus. I do think the video card outputs its frames at a smoother rate than the GT 6600, despite the fact that the frame rate is identical. I don't know why, and I don't know if that shows up in capture or not, but I see it, I perceive it while I'm gaming, so give it what it is. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. This has been progressing along with the whole studio setup thing here that I'm playing with. So, alright guys, peace out, and we'll see you again right here on Wayback Tech, hopefully. Next one will be something, I'm thinking something in the Mac range of things. Peace. Peace out.
Drinks, cold. Are you ready? Here we go. Soft drinks, lemonade, water, cold tea. It's up to you. It's up to.
I interrupt this the future me here. So, I promised you I'd show you the Tweety Bird mouse. I've had this for a while. It was something cheesy, corny I found on eBay, and I said, I gotta have it. This was years ago. Yeah. Tweety Bird. Yeah. I think I was called ball mouse. Tweety ball mouse. Yep. PS2. Yep. This is the first time it's actually been used. Can you believe it? Because I needed a PS2 mouse because my USB stopped working, as I said. I had to disable it. So this guy was the one that was in the drawer. So it was what got used. It's made by Fellows, in case you're wondering or interested in a Looney Tunes. Copyright 1997, so we're right in the era correctness there. So yeah, again, as my past said, and my current self's going to say, again, thank you very much for watching. I will revisit this project at some point, but right now I'm kind of over it. I am working on, I have a vested interest now in bringing back my two G5 Power Macs, because there's a lot of games for the Power Mac era that would be fun to play on this channel. So peace out, and I'll return you to my past self. Take care, everyone.
Drinks, cold. Are you ready? Here we go. Soft drinks, lemonade, water, cold tea. It's up to you. It's up to me. Cold drinks come in 4 cups. Gotta know the size before you fill it up. Biggie, medium, small, kids meal. Keep it straight. It's a good deal. Use the scoop to fill with ice. Never use the cup. Take my advice. For soft drinks, fill the ice halfway. No matter the size, that's what I say. Tilt the cup.